If you want to set the level and you want to say, right, I've got a high-end HMO, prove it.
Yeah.
Maintain it. Have it clean, have it spotless. We have a weekly cleaner that goes into our HMOs and she keeps it spotless.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We have a bi-weekly gardener that goes into, and all through the winter months too. But what I want to keep him is a good guy. He keeps himself to himself. He loves his garden. So the council will come along and throw them all out. Throw everyone. That's someone's home.
Yeah.
But they don't know that you haven't got a license. It's your responsibility as the landlord to have all the proper license, everything above board is ticked.
What is a high-end HMO? Welcome back to the Property Newbies podcast. And today I'm joined by Chris Perry from Perry Living, who is a high-end HMO investor and developer. Today we're going to talk all things HMO, what is a high-end HMO, how to develop one, and the ins and outs of managing an HMO business. Again, you're really going to enjoy this one, so stick around. Okay. So Chris, thank you for joining us today. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thank you. Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
No problem. So before we get started, a question I like to ask all my guests that come on is, tell me something quirky or interesting, or maybe or different about you that something that people may not know about you.
That's a good one. I get cheese sweats, so I sweat under my eyes when I eat cheese. It's most unusual.
Cheese sweats.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've only ever heard of one other person having cheese sweats, but it's the most unusual, quirky thing I can think of off the top of my head.
Is that person related to you?
No.
Like it's hereditary.
No, I think it was James O'Brien from LBC announced it one day on the radio in the car, and I was like, I get that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very. No one knows that about me. Interesting. You're the first person I've ever told that to. Not even my other half knows that.
As well as everyone else listening.
And now everyone else listening.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah, and the other half doesn't know apparently.
Yeah, well now she will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, brilliant. So, okay, introduce yourself, Chris. Who are you?
My name is Chris. I'm the company owner of Perry Living. I'm the proud father of two. Yes. I live and I'm based out of North Essex. I grew up in London. Moved out to start a family and better life, and accidentally fell into the world of investing. And to cut a long story short, here I am sitting here opposite you today through networking.
Brilliant. Yeah. So in terms of talk to me about your background then. So what, prior to property, if you're not full-time in property, which is a question in itself actually, if you're not full-time in property, I'm not. What is it you do outside of property as well?
Fine. So by trade, I'm an accountant, qualified, and I work for a UK law firm. I'm based out of Liverpool Street, so I do that as a full-time job on the side. I don't know. I was always good with numbers, not very good with words, and that's the route I kind of went down. Fell into property completely by accident. When I was 25, I bought my home. It was a little one-bed flat over in Chingford, East London. Still got that today. And I found out the person that was trying to buy it was trying to commit mortgage fraud as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it was a bit of a weird one. So he actually told his solicitor, so he's using the Help to Buy scheme.
Yeah.
And he got a 5-year residential mortgage on it. And he told his solicitor, I'm going to buy this and I'm going to rent it out. He was using the Help to Buy scheme, so HMRC don't like being defrauded. That's the first thing. The second thing is mortgage fraud on that front too. So I looked at the option of, I could leverage this. Since I bought my flat for this small price, I've done it up, I've added value to it.
Yeah.
It's gone up in value, and I can borrow against that. And it seemed like such an alien notion to me that I could do something like that, and tax free too. Yeah. I can actually take leverage out of this. A bank will lend me money. So anyway, to cut a long story short, after I was with my missus for 3 years before that, we moved out to Essex to then start a family. So I borrowed against my flat. Yeah. After refurbing it, adding value, and put that deposit down, and now I live in the same house today.
Okay,
that's 4.5 years ago.
Yeah. So your first property purchase was 4.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Which was at the time.
8 years ago when I was 25.
Oh, so okay, yeah. And that was just
my first refinance. My first refinance was 4.5 years ago. Yeah. But quite by accident, I discovered the art of borrowing safely.
Yeah.
And tax free and adding value to property. So this is incredible.
Yeah.
I could do it again. So I did. I did up my home. I leveraged myself again, safely leveraged myself again, and borrowed against that, borrowed against my flat again as well. And I started investing, buying up little flats across Essex, Romford, Witham.
Yeah.
I did a flip in there as well. It was my first property flip when I was 30. But yeah, I made some good money at it when interest rates were dirt cheap, when they were low. But yeah,
good old days.
The good old days.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe it's only 18 months ago.
Seems longer though, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah,
it does. But yeah, I don't know. I took advantage of low interest rates at the time. I knew that they were historic lows, and we always kept on getting reminded that they were historic lows on the interest rates. And yeah, I don't know. I took full advantage of that, Courtney.
Yeah. So talk to me about your investment strategy then.
Yeah.
So obviously, I know you're a HMO.
Yeah.
You invest in HMOs, high end HMOs. But what is your investment strategy?
Buy, refurbish, refinance.
And what is that?
Right. So essentially, when lockdown hit, we was all of a sudden, because I was going up to London, I was working my job for a US law firm at the time. It's quite an intense job. I was working like 12, 14-hour days. It was crazy. I was getting not hardly any reward for it. Lockdown hit, and all of a sudden I could work from home. So this is like an alien thing to the whole nation.
Yeah.
Right. So all of a sudden we've got this freedom to. It's like flexible working all of a sudden. So, as probably a lot of us did, you go on YouTube, you do a bit of reading as well on the side, and you think, oh, hang on, something called what's this HMO thing about? What is this that I can maximise? It's like a cash cow. You got these guys like Samuel Leeds and Jamie York and these various people on YouTube. A lot of these gurus just saying like, this is how you make more money. I had my buy-to-lets at the time. Did my property flip during lockdown, as I told you.
Yeah.
And I did a bit more reading on it. I did a bit more research. I was like, right, okay. Cut a long story short, driving past what was a derelict. It was a derelict property in Colchester. Just rambling now. We went past it and we saw that this derelict property was for sale. It overlooked the park. It was in a conservation area. It was lovely. And we looked at it. It's huge. And it's like it was up for sale for, was it 370,000 quid? So quite a fair chunk. Quite a bit of money. So I said to my other half, as was driving, I said, do you reckon we could maybe buy that and then convert it maybe into, chop it up a little bit? I know a good builder who's done some work for me before. Maybe I'll run it past him. So I did. After I did my research, I was like, okay, fine. I spoke to an architect as well.
Yeah.
And he said, I like your idea. Yes, you can chop that up. You can do that through something called permitted development. So, okay, fine. So okay, fine. This is the first time I used bridging, and this was in 2021.
Okay, still in the lockdown period.
Yeah.
In the COVID period, sorry.
Yeah. So bridging was an interesting experience. You have to sign a little personal guarantee where you put your house on the line.
Yeah.
And they basically say, if you cock up, we're going to take everything away from you.
Yeah.
Essentially, and so. Anyway, we did that. I put literally everything on the line. But I didn't know about development finance at the time. So I bought this damn thing with a 25% deposit, and then you got all your bridging fees on top in 2021. I only learned about development finance probably after I used bridging, which is silly, right? I mean, most of us know about development finance. So what I did was, it was an okay paid job, and my other half, she's a quantity surveyor, my other half. So she's she's always been quite property motivated with what she's done, essentially just costing up commercial buildings for a living. That's what she did until she recently on maternity leave. But yeah, we leveraged ourselves using bank loans at low interest rates. So essentially we financed the whole build, the conversion. You do your 6 beds through your permitted development. You get a little lawful certificate of use, the change of use from the council. It takes on average about 2.5 months. We're going to touch on planning, aren't we?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So managed to chop it up into what would be a 6 bed. I wanted 8 beds out of it, and what you need to do is you have 2 sets of drawings. Now, not many people know this, but you have 2 sets of drawings.
Yeah.
Because I looked at other planning applications, because they're all available. They're all available to the general public. You can see all the applications there, and you can see the various drawings that are used. and you see, okay, right, so that 6-bed HMO around the corner, why has it got a playroom and a living room with an ensuite to it? And you think that's a bit strange. Because there's a second set of drawings, isn't there? The second set of drawings that they never share with anybody is obviously what they actually want to do with it. Well, they want to turn it into a 7-bed or an 8-bed. And that playroom, that games room, it's not real. It's a bedroom, essentially.
Yeah.
Because you don't have many dining rooms with an ensuite, do you?
No.
So I have my 2 sets of drawings. So my first set of drawing, got through permitted development, did that. Achieved my 6-bed, which is great. Then I went to full planning to turn it into a 7-bed HMO, which you then get your commercial valuation on, don't you? Because most people, most lenders, they won't touch you if you, for a commercial valuation, if you've got a 6-bed. You have to have a 7-bed. You have to have that certificate that says it's a sui generis.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's in Latin. I think it's something else.
Yeah.
It translates as.
Yeah.
But yeah, we achieved 7-bed, and to do that, it was a horrific process. But I'm so glad we went through it at the same time, because you learn so much.
Yeah.
And you learn the perception of people's perception of what an HMO is.
Yeah.
It's quite a negative one.
Yes,
it really is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I had neighbours in that road. Saying all kinds of things to Mrs. in Colchester, coming up to me saying, this little old lady, she said, "You're destroying that house. What have you done with all the insides, all the original features?"
Yeah.
There was no original features. It was ripped out in the 1990s, and what we got was just a load of asbestos. It was awful.
Yeah.
We literally just refurbed the whole thing as a back to brick. As I said, funded by the bank loans in our personal names. Which we'll come on to in a minute with how you do that in a company, because there's some pretty cool, quirky stuff you can do for your tax returns too. With what we went through with the neighbours as well, I got screamed at in the street. There was a lady that came up to me and she was screaming, saying, she said to me, she goes, "You're going to put a bunch of criminals in that bedsit, aren't you?" And I said to her, "No. Firstly, I'm building something quite nice. Well, I hope it's going to be lovely. I think it's going to be the best home on the street. Well, I don't want to put a bunch of criminals in here. Where does that even come from?"
Yeah.
Secondly, I don't know. I don't have much experience of renting out property to criminals, but they don't tend to pay their bills, I'm sure. Why would I want to rent out to a bunch of people who won't pay me the rent and essentially service the debt and the bills? Because with HMOs, don't forget you've got to cover all the bills as well.
Yeah,
that's all part of the package. But we did a survey actually recently where you end up saving the average tenant about £1,000 a month for an HMO. So, for example, if you rent out the rooms for £700, there could be a studio flat around the corner, but you got £200 worth. That's just the rent. That's £600 for a studio flat. You got the council tax of £200 on top of that. Then you got all the bills, and then you have to feed yourself. You might have a phone bill. You might have a car. I mean, God, you got the TV license in there too. I mean, what if you got Netflix and Disney and Amazon Prime and all the rest of it? I mean, it does stack up.
It does, yeah.
So a £600 studio flat is actually more like £1,800 a month.
Yeah.
So if you're paying £700 a month with all bills included, and all you got to do is essentially feed yourself, you might have a London-based job. You might work from home. I mean, that's great. We give our tenants full control over the heating as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially everyone gets their own bathroom as well, and I think that's what makes our brand high end.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. So that's,
I've given you a lot to unpack.
You've answered a lot of my questions there. So let's backtrack a little bit on some of the stuff that you've touched upon.
Yeah.
There. So you're a high end HMO provider. You focus on high end HMOs. So
yeah.
In your opinion, because it's very subjective what people would call high end and low end or mid range. But to you, Chris, what is a high end HMO?
The extras, the management, the finish the builder gives it as well. But yeah, it's the finish really.
Yeah.
The extras, as I said. I mean, like we're giving all of our tenants, they get 43-inch smart TVs with free Netflix included.
Yeah.
It's obviously all bills included in there as well, but we do free takeaway nights. I've built them. It was a long time in the making. They've got a garden room at the end of. It's basically a pub at the end of the garden in Colchester, south-facing garden. It's a very long garden, and we've built a great big garden house there. Essentially, it's got its own bar, got a 50-inch TV in there as well. It's like created a little cinema room.
Nice.
Yeah, great big corner sofa too, and we top it up with Pringles and popcorn and yeah, crisps, dips, beers,
Yeah.
non-alcoholic drinks as well. And we do that on a monthly basis. And I think little things like that is what makes it. That's what makes it high end.
Yeah.
When in my point of view.
Yeah.
Other people I'm sure are doing similar. Others not at all. You could go and put a partition wall up in the middle of a living room.
Yeah.
And then you could call it an HMO. You don't add on any bathrooms. And then you've got shared bathrooms as well in there. And you could say it's a 5-bed HMO.
Mm-hmm.
What you've done is you've literally just moved everything out. You've put a partition wall up in the living room, that 3-bed semi-detached house. You've just put some beds in there and now you call it an HMO. There's a lot of people doing that. Now, that would be at the opposite end of the spectrum to what I would perceive as high end.
Okay.
So hopefully that breaks it down.
Yeah, no, very good, very good, very good. Planning is a big topic at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
There's regulation changes left, right, and centre happening all the time.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the planning process of a HMO.
Yeah,
definitely. And what that looks like.
Before I do, there's something that was announced in the recently. They in the government have actually relaxed the planning around buying a house and turn it into flats.
Yes, I did see that. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Right? So, but a part of me does think that's a cheat way of solving the housing crisis, if you like.
Yeah.
So
it's a quick fix to the government, though, isn't it?
That's
what it is.
It is 100%.
A house that can be turned into 3 or 4 plus flats. It's a quick fix to the housing crisis. So
exactly that.
That's one for another.
That's one for another.
Yeah, talk to us about the what's involved when it comes to planning.
Of course,
of HMOs, because I know it's quite complex, or can be.
God, it's awful. Yeah. So with local authorities, and successive governments, you want to solve the housing crisis, and if you can't build enough homes in time, there's not enough social housing as part of those big developments. Surely you should encourage more high end, as I explained earlier, high end HMOs, not petition up in the middle of a living room and call it an HMO just to help quickly solve the crisis. You want high-end HMOs. And I personally think that councils, if they can see as part of the planning application, the permitted development application, if they can see that, they should encourage high-end HMOs because it is a quick, cheap way to solve the housing crisis. So on average, permitted development. So your normal family home that you buy, be that derelict or be that operational, like the one that we got in Colchester had no running water, no electricity. It was uninhabitable. We didn't go and take away a home from a potential family there. You couldn't get a mortgage on it in the first place.
Yeah.
What we did was we took something terrible and turned it into a piece of gold, I think, anyway. But then again, I'm biased because I was the one overseeing it.
Yeah.
But with permitted development, what that essentially is 2 months, 2.5 months, 3 months, depending on who the council is, to change that building use from a C3 class to a C4. Now, what that does is it allows you to have up to 6 beds through permitted development. Permitted development is a tick box exercise.
Yeah.
As long as you've ticked those boxes, you've got your fire doors, you've got enough ovens, you've got enough rings on your hobs, you've ticked all of the boxes that you need, the emergency lighting, such. I could go on. I think there's like 20 odd requirements, 28, something like that. There's a ridiculous amount of requirements.
Yeah.
But as long as you've ticked all those boxes, you can achieve your 6-bed HMO. Now, always do that before you go in for full planning. Okay, so full planning, that could take a bit longer than 3 months.
Yeah.
Now, my particular one in Colchester, that got called into committee. So essentially what that meant was I had a bunch of politicians, local councillors, that sat round a table. This is all public knowledge as well. They actually kept a recording of it.
Yeah.
They sat round a table and they debated whether this particular building should go from a 6-bed to a 7-bed. And this went on for about 90 minutes.
Yeah.
It's incredible. So what an absolute waste of time that is for councillors who could be focusing on other things.
Yeah.
it was, remember what I said earlier about the 2 sets of drawings?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this was easily, achievably a 7-bed HMO that I'd created. For 90 minutes, for local politicians to sit down and debate that. Some of the things they come out with, I won't name the political parties, I'm not going to go down that road, but I was accused of housing people like rabbits.
What, because of the amount of rooms, or?
Because of the amount of rooms. He said, this guy, this developer, is housing people like rabbits. That's so insulting to even the people that live there, let alone me, and just the whole system of trying to put people in nice places to live.
Yeah.
It was disgusting language that was used. I was called an evil developer.
Yeah.
An evil developer. I had no evil intentions with any of this.
I think you touched upon this earlier about the misconception of HMOs and the negative connotation that comes with HMOs. What is it? Do you think? Why is there such a negative?
I think historically there have probably been some really bad ones, but the government recently have encouraged high quality HMOs. Yeah. There was that legislation recently, was it? So they overturned council tax, didn't they? They actually wanted to divvy up the council tax.
Oh yeah, the single banding.
Yeah. What's all that about? It's just to get extra money. So it all comes down to money at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm so glad they overturned that.
Yeah, that was huge.
Yeah, because what landlords essentially can do is you just pass it on to the tenant, and that is so unfair. Just to benefit the local authority?
Yeah.
It was greed. That's all.
No one would have won in that scenario apart from the local authorities.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, no, indeed, and think of the paperwork and also the extra time taken up by important people in the local authority. All those unpaid council tax bills, if you like.
Yeah.
Because don't forget, I mean, with HMOs, people come and they go. They come and they go. Yeah. Think of the additional paperwork that would have been. Who's living there? Christ, I know it's changed completely. It's about 3 or 4 people moved out in the last 6 months. Yeah. Because HMOs, what they do is they attract a more of a transient person. Mm-hmm. But thankfully we don't have that with ours just yet. But look. I mean, never say never, right?
Yeah. Right, good. So let's backtrack a bit again then. So you're building this business alongside a full-time job.
Yes.
How do you balance that?
Well, it's difficult, and the long and short of it is that don't know. You have to. What's the alternative?
Yeah.
What you fail?
Yeah.
I'm not going to fail.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fail. I've got 2 kids, as I said earlier. They're both under the age of 4. So I hear people all the time saying, I don't have time to do this.
Yeah.
Everyone's got time. I've got 24 hours in a day. Of course, we all need to sleep.
Yeah.
But everyone's got the same amount of time as me because we're all on this planet together, right? Like we're all living it. And if you got your health, and you got the drive, then there's no such thing as not enough time.
Yeah.
Just because you don't respond to somebody's message or give them a call back in that minute, do it in an hour. If you need to focus on something else, it's prioritization.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what it is. So the long and short answer is you have to prioritize properly.
Yes, definitely. Couldn't agree more. Alongside that then, so what I'm sure as part of this journey you've had to make sacrifices, whether it's just things in your personal life or things that you like doing. Yeah, but what sacrifices have you had to make to build this business?
So I'm heavily leveraged right now as a result. And I think, do you know what it is on a personal level? I've missed out on a lot of the time that, as a father, that I would have otherwise had. I was there for all the major bits, like for example, my daughter walking for the first time, but I feel that I missed out a bit more than perhaps the next person did because I was on a phone call to, the planning team, the architect, the builder. Yeah. I wasn't present as much as what I should have been. And for me, all the work I'm doing now, everything I'm doing now, it's not just for me, it's for my family. So it's to earn those moments back, I guess, in the future.
Love that, yeah.
So if I can do that and I can work my arse off to do it, then I will. Yeah. And I won't fail. And I will do that. So I can win back. I can win that back, all those precious moments that I potentially lost.
Yeah.
With the hard work I'm doing now. But
yeah, I love that. So no regrets then?
None.
Yeah.
None.
No.
None. Because you can be that person that goes, oh, I regret I didn't do this. Oh, I didn't do that. Oh, I wish I did this. Well, just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
And you're always going to be saying, I wish I'd have done this or wish I'd have done that.
You hear it from everybody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm guilty of it. I'll be honest. I'm guilty. Every now and then I'll say, I wish I'd done that 5 years ago.
Everyone. Exactly. Because, look, vision. Okay, so 2020. In a roundabout way, I mean, hindsight. The vision of hindsight is always 2020 vision, isn't it? Yeah. It really is. Because hindsight, it's a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing. And like, for example, I wish I bought my flat a little bit sooner at 23, 24, and look what I could have got. I could have taken advantage of those years where the interest rates were that much lower. But we didn't know where the interest rates were when they were going to skyrocket, which they did. Yeah. But yeah, you can only do what you can do, if that makes sense, Courtney.
Yeah.
And just take advantage of the now rather than focusing on and dwelling on the past, because there's no use in doing that.
Yeah, definitely. Wise words. Let's talk about education.
Yeah.
Big topic at the moment in property in general.
Definitely.
There's always something happening in the education space, whether it's courses or mentoring or
that's right,
tuition of some sort. But what's been your experience of property specific education? Have you done any education? Are you self-taught?
Self-taught, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, self-taught. So, I don't know. When you say self-taught, I mean, like I've watched a hell of a lot of YouTube videos.
Reading. I'll be clearer. So when I say self-taught, I mean basically anything that's non-paid. So whether it's just watching podcasts or YouTube videos, reading books,
all self-taught,
self-taught stuff. Basically, no active courses or mentorship or
That's right. And I think if you was to pay for a course and you was to sit down, you was to listen to somebody on stage say, "This is how you do this," and what I was talking about earlier with permitted development. I mean, that's what does that mean to the average person?
Yeah.
Permitted development, planning. Me saying that it got called into committee, my planning application, and I had councillors sitting down deciding whether they should go through or not for 90 minutes. What does that mean to the average person?
Yeah.
Not much.
Yeah.
Until you go through it yourself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think this is from personal experience. I think you're going to learn a hell of a lot more trying it, doing it yourself, than what you are by listening to someone on stage that you've potentially paid for. I mean, networking, great thing. Surround yourself with people who have done it.
Yeah.
Now, again, I wish I could have potentially surrounded myself with people that have done it before I went ahead and did it, because I made mistakes, but I learned from those mistakes.
Yeah.
And now I will tell other people not to make those particular mistakes.
Yeah.
What I didn't say earlier was that I went straight from the C3 application on the Colchester HMO.
Yeah.
I went straight to sui generis. Now that is the silliest thing that you could do in the eyes of planning.
Yeah.
You're going from a 0-bed HMO all the way up to, I think it was 8 beds on my original application. That's silly. That was never going to get through.
Yeah.
I think the architects at the time were probably rubbing their hands together as I was doing that, because they knew, I think deep down, that I was just going to end up paying them again to resubmit an application. But you learn. That was a big mistake. I lost lots of money doing that. But yeah, on the job learning, in answer to your question.
Yeah.
Nothing paid for.
No, good. And mindset as well, then. We touched upon that a bit there as well. So I'm getting the impression you've got a very good, strong mindset. You've had some hurdles along the way, let's say.
Oh, 100%.
So how has your, what role has your mindset played along this journey?
You have to become sociopathic to a degree and not care what people think.
Mm-hmm.
If I spent time caring what people thought about me, I'd have no time. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And you really need to just wake up to the fact that you're only going to live once.
Yeah.
You are only going to live once. I mean, make the most of it.
Yeah.
Do everything you can whilst you can. Network as much as possible. Enjoy yourself, because there are so many bitter people when they get older. I wish I did that. I didn't do that. Oh, I could have done that. I could have done. And they are bitter because they didn't. And time is so important.
Mm-hmm.
So for me now, I value my time more than money.
Yeah.
For me, especially with having kids as well, and remember I said about those moments that I missed out on while they were growing up. That time for me, that's what I'm working towards ultimately, is earning more of that.
Yeah.
So I've gone a very long way around the houses. What was the original question?
It was more around mindset. You know, how has your mindset helped you and shaped what you're doing now, basically?
Fine. So persistence. Persistence is key. And to coin a term from that, so I don't know if you've seen that movie on Netflix, The Founder.
No, I've not seen it yet. No.
Check it out. Really good. And I can resonate with that. And persistence is key. And if you can just keep going, you're going to get knockbacks. Everyone's going to get knockbacks.
Yeah.
It's just whether you get up from them or not. It's whether you get up, you give up. The people that give up and they are just a little knockback and they're, I'm not going to do that again. I lost some money here. I'm not going to do that again. I don't want to say it's a loser mindset, but it's definitely not a winner's mindset.
Yeah.
That's my take on it.
Okay.
But yeah, persistence.
Yeah.
Persistence is key.
Very good. So I put a poll out on Instagram a few days back to get some questions from from the Instagram community. Yeah. Are you happy for me to field you some questions? And
fire away.
Yeah. So you answered one of them already. I asked the question about what is a high-end HMO, so we'll skip over that. What amenities do your tenants find most attractive, and how do you incorporate them into your developments?
So we build quite close to all local amenities. For example, if you was to go and get an HMO in the countryside, it wouldn't necessarily make too much sense, but we make use. So we have welcome packs as well that my company produces for tenants, and they actually points out all local amenities, where your bus, how far away is your bus stop? That's a key point. It's a very good question.
Yeah.
But yeah, with our HMOs that we have, they're very close to all local amenities.
Yeah. Okay.
And when we focus on that, and there's a lot that goes into the due diligence as well before you go and buy a property that you want to convert into that, because the council look at that as well. So our most recent application was for a 9-bed HMO in Ipswich, and that came up as well. How close are all your amenities? Very close. We've done our due diligence, and as a result.
Good. This is a good question, actually. So, I've done a lot of networking over the last sort of 12 months, and I've met loads of people at various different stages of their property journey, if you like. Some who are just starting out, some who are thinking about starting out, some who have a couple of properties, and some who are a lot more experienced. But obviously, a big part of the journey is identifying the right locations for a HMO. So this question was, how do you identify potential locations for HMO developments?
That's a really good question. So I think you don't have to do too much driving through a town centre or on the outskirts of a town centre to see where buildings have been turned into HMOs. A lot of those plots have already been discovered, and you'll see because it's all public knowledge. You can go on the council's website and see how many planning applications have been made for HMOs in the area. And you can see what the success rates are. You can see the permitted developments that have been awarded as well. So, as I said, as long there isn't any clear-cut answer to this question, I don't think, because it's all down to the area too. Now, I've only got HMOs in 2 cities. So my focus is those 2 cities. For example, London, you could pretty much have an HMO anywhere. But in Colchester, not so much. In Ipswich, not so much. But it all depends on the location, really, and the and the research that you do. As I said, it's all available knowledge online.
Okay. I'll pick another one. A couple more actually. So again, high-end HMOs is your focus. So someone's asked, for a high-end HMO, does it have to be all en suites or can it be shared bathrooms?
If you're going to do a shared bathroom, make sure it's big. My preference is to have an ensuite, because there's nothing worse than waiting for someone. I've lived in an HMO. There's nothing worse than you need to get to work. Your boss is going to kill you if you don't get there on time. You need to have a shower. But you can't. Because you've got a shared bathroom. And it's in use. And you don't want to upset the people you live with, but you need to bang on that door. But in my opinion, I think that if you want to make your HMO high end, you should probably have en suites. I'm trying to tiptoe around this and be as polite as possible, but I think if you got 6 beds and then if you got 6 bathrooms, you're onto a winner.
No, I mean, I look back at when I was at university. My last year at university, I stayed in a what was a HMO. I mean, I
Yeah.
had no idea at the time it was called a HMO, but
Yeah.
I just called it a house share.
Yeah.
And it was 4 of us, and we had 1 bathroom.
Yeah.
And I look back on that experience now and think to myself, I would never stay in that ever again. Sharing a bathroom with 3 other people.
Yeah.
And not to talk badly of anyone, but there was always hair in the sink and
Yeah.
there was something there, and it's just like
Yeah.
it wasn't, So yeah,
But it's the demographic, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
for example, if your demographic is young working professionals,
Yeah.
they may have just moved out from home. This is quite a cool experience.
Yeah.
The co-living experience. I mean, humans were co-living thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
And it's nothing uncommon.
Yep.
They were doing it back then, and they're doing it now. And some people quite like the co-living. Obviously, not the hairs in the sink, as you're saying there. Of course,
Yeah.
not everyone wants. Most people, want their own bathroom.
Yeah.
But yeah, co-living isn't an alien concept.
No, it's
something
not.
we've been doing
Everyone
for
to a certain degree enjoys that sense of companionship, don't they? Whether
do.
it's company or friendship, or
They do.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think it's a positive thing.
Our tenants have movie nights together. They cook. They cook lasagna. They cook these great big wonderful meals, and then they send us through pictures, and we are over the moon. We're so happy because they're absolutely utilising what the space is for.
Yeah.
It's a co-living space, and they all get on.
Yeah.
And we love that.
Yeah.
Happy tenants.
Yeah, love that. I'll pick one more. Very open-ended question, actually.
Yeah, ask.
Where do you see the future of HMO development heading, and what emerging trends do you anticipate?
That's a really good question. I see HMOs and indeed local authorities and successive governments pushing for more high-end HMOs.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to be really clamping down on the poorly run ones. The ones without the licenses. You have to have a license.
Yeah.
You have to have your planning in place. If you've got a 7-bed or more, it has to have gone through planning. It has to be above board. So if you want to just cut a long story short, I mean, I think if the council come along and they find there's a property that's been split up into 8 or 9 beds, this is unlawful HMO.
Yeah.
The council will come along and throw them all out. Throw everyone. That's someone's home.
Yeah.
But they don't know that you haven't got a license. It's your responsibility as the landlord to have all the proper license, everything above board and ticked. Yeah. You need your gas safety cert done once a year. Everything needs to be ticked and needs to be done properly. And it's not their fault. They're living in there, and they rely on you. They pay their rent for you to keep it above board.
Yeah.
We have a weekly cleaner. We have a weekly cleaner that goes into our HMOs, and she keeps it spotless.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We have a bi-weekly gardener that goes into, and all through the winter months too. But what I want to keep him is a good guy. He keeps himself to himself. He loves his garden. Sort of thing. Like it's all part of keeping it high end.
Yeah.
So just a reinforcement of what makes an HMO high end before, and previous question, maintenance.
Yeah.
Maintain it.
Yeah.
If you want to set the level and you want to say, right, I've got a high end HMO, prove it.
Yeah.
Maintain it. Have it clean. Have it spotless.
Love that. So you're a bit of an expert when it comes to planning and regulation and areas, aren't you? So I've got a little quiz for you, Chris, to test your knowledge.
Oh well, I don't know if I'm going to pass it, but as I said, all my knowledge is just through experience and a bit of reading.
So it's a quiz that I've put together myself.
Yeah,
I've called it Regulation Roulette.
All right. Well, I hope I pass.
You ready for this?
No one's going to take me seriously if I go on. Let's go.
A HMO license. Yeah. So basically, it's almost like it's true or false type answers. Basically, true or false, or yes or no.
Yeah.
A HMO license is required on HMOs occupied by 5 or more people.
Correct.
Brighton and Hove Council have recently stated that all new HMOs must provide a communal space with a pool table.
False.
Correct.
I was going to say. Well, yeah.
High-end HMO
cool
developers are required to host monthly community events to encourage tenant interaction.
False.
Correct. HMOs are required to have fire doors for the safety and protection of tenants in the event of a fire. A local MP has recently mandated that all HMOs must have smart tech systems to assist tenants.
Oh, right. I haven't been watching the news recently, but I'm going to go for false. No, true. I'm going to go for true.
It's false.
Oh, God!
I hope it is anyway.
I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of MPs out there that say a lot of,
I know.
lot of crazy stuff. So, I mean, that could have gone one way or the other.
Yeah. HMO regulations include minimum room size requirements to ensure adequate living space for each occupant.
Yeah.
Correct. In Mayfair and Knightsbridge, HMOs are encouraged to implement sustainable practices such as solar panels.
True.
False.
Yeah, as I said, I'm not familiar. I mean, I see them on the Monopoly board, and you want those those bits, didn't you? But yeah.
In an Article 4 area,
Yes.
there are restrictions in place, and a planning submission is required.
Oh, correct. Yeah. Yes.
Yep, correct.
Yeah, I hate Article 4.
In densely populated urban areas, HMO developers are required to allocate a certain percentage of units for affordable housing.
HMO? No, that's false.
Correct. All coastal town HMO developments must include surfboard storage for tenants, similar to bike storage for city HMOs.
False.
Correct.
You had me there. You smiled at me there.
I did these ones deliberately for that reason. Yeah, I thought that's quite clever.
Surfboards. Yeah, of course.
You know, you get those random MPs that petition for something.
Yes.
Yeah. Next one. Sui generis is defined as a HMO with 7 or more rooms containing all en-suites.
All containing en-suites.
Yeah.
That's false.
Yes. Little curveball in that one there.
Yeah, I was actually going to say true.
Yeah.
I think, you should read this whole question.
In some regions,
yeah,
HMO developers are encouraged to implement green building practices such as energy efficient appliances and sustainable construction materials.
I'd say true.
It is true. I saw this article somewhere, so
yeah.
I didn't do my full research into it, but it was on a government website, so you have to take that as official when you see that. So,
cool. So I can see that. I can see HMOs going in that direction.
Yeah. Noise control measures are often addressed in HMO regulations or building regs to ensure a comfortable living environment for tenants.
That's true.
Correct. New HMO regulations stipulate that all properties must now have a separate communal area for domestic pets such as dogs and cats.
There was something about this. Yes, it's true.
No, it's false. It's a play on what's happening. But
it's a play on what's happening. Fine.
Yeah.
I know that you can't turn down a request for.
Yeah. But you don't have to actually provide a separate space.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the way things go.
Yeah.
I mean, look how much the world has changed in the last 10 years alone. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a request for a change of materials used. Have you seen recently the concrete used on specific schools?
Yeah. That's been big at the moment.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if something like that crops up.
Yeah.
Down the line, because it can crop up any day of the week.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just continually changing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Chris, it's been great having you on. But final thoughts before we wrap up. What would be your advice to anyone wishing to get into HMOs?
Persistence. Do your reading, do your research, but you don't need to pay to go to seminars and do all of that. You don't. You need to surround yourself with the right people who have done it and take as much free advice as you can from them too.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't give up.
Brilliant. And for the benefit of the listeners, how can they reach you and contact you?
info@perryliving.co.uk. That's the company email address.
And you on social media or anything?
Yep, I'm on Instagram, so that's @Perry__living. Brilliant. On Instagram. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, Chris, again, it was a pleasure coming
Thank you for having
you on. Sorry.
That's been awesome. Thank you
very much.
Brilliant. Thank you.